welcome on stage Tony Harmer, a good friend of mine. Well, if I say a very creative person, this would not really do him well. Or the verb that you introduce is you are the design ninja, and I guess you are the only design ninja globally available, right?
There can be only one.
There can be only one, yeah. So tell us, what is the design ninja, and what makes it?
So the design ninja is the name's because in the many demonstrations you've seen me do some of, Ingo, I'm quite quick, and it looks like I'm not actually doing anything at all, but stuff is appearing. And so many people said ninja that
Okay.
I just stuck with it. But there you go. It's as simple as that. Well, you know, I mean, wizard, ninja wizard, I don't know.
Yeah.
So many things.
But with that, you explained already quite well. So the design ninja is also a content creator, and you are a very well-known author on LinkedIn Learning across all creative areas. And we know each other for a while. We even had been colleagues for a while. And I was your TA, your teaching assistant at Adobe Max for a few years. And so Max is the big design conference that Adobe runs every fall, normally in LA. Hopefully we see each other again there this year.
We will.
We have creative guys, design ninjas giving workshops there. And then we have teaching assistants. These are very often community experts, other experts, some Adobe folks who just help in the room to people to follow along. And I remember the one Max, I was a teaching assistant for you 3 times for the same session, which was about infographics in Illustrator. And if you say, infographics in Illustrator, that's not really good. We ask for so more things since many years. You should look Tony's session, what's possible. This is really great. But even though I was teaching assistant 3 times, you had been too fast and too good, and it looked too easy for me really to follow, since I also tried the others to help. But so this is really cool. You have the big knowledge, and this is what you share with us today. So you give us an overview on Creative Cloud features, but also some add-ons and how and why you use them. And yeah, so
absolutely,
the stage is yours. We can't wait to see
what
Creative Cloud has for us.
Okay, well, I'm just going to queue up on this end and get my screen going.
Perhaps also in the last years, we really only focused on what's new to developers. This year we said we need to have a session from Tony to also give an overview on some of the new features, since we know that most of you cover on one or a few creative topics and perhaps have missed some of the updates, or also get some other inspiration from Tony on how you can use these features.
Absolutely. Well, in the 20 minutes that I have, I've had to pick my targets very well for this. So let's crack on then. All right then. So thank you for the intro, Ingo. It is great to be here. I'm so excited to be here. I was at a fab dinner last night, and I even left early, so make sure that I have plenty of sleep for today. So you already know who I am. I'm easy enough to find. So we won't worry any further with those kind of things. What we're going to do is we're going to have just a very quick look. These are just some of the things that have appeared predominantly since September 2024. Right now, there are some that were in beta before that, but these are just the names of some of these things. And this is across Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, Lightroom Classic, Adobe Express, Premiere Pro, After Effects, just some of the things, just as a sort of bunch of words for you. And you can see that there's a lot of stuff there, a lot of development there. And so what I thought we'd do is we'd have a look at some of the things I've picked. Now, to be fair, I have picked predominantly from the design area because it's just easier for me to get more in. So I'm sorry, video folks, there is a tiny bit of video stuff later on, but I'm not showing any video features just here. Now, I have a couple of small notes before we start. Okay, so here are my 2 quick notes. Okay, there's my little bunny. Some of the demos are pre-recorded. Okay, so I've done that just to take the load off my machine because I'm working from my home studio here today, and I just want to make sure that the connection is as streamlined as possible. Okay, and some of the sequences have been shortened. Okay, and you'll see the bunny or the hare, whichever, floating away, or usually on the bottom right hand corner of the screen when something's been shortened, just to save you from watching loads and loads of progress bars. So we'll start in Photoshop here with distraction removal. Now, this is a photo I took in Prague. These wires are fascinating to me, but they're not the best thing for this particular shot. So the remove tool has this remove distractions thing, and you can see how quickly that works. And then it's just a matter of mopping up here a couple or so of artifacts. There's one just down at the bottom here to be cleared up. And you can see in that very, very short amount of time, right, all of that has been cleaned up. There are no wires there, which is incredible. Now, you might think that they are indeed against a high contrast background, but I've done similar things from shots I took in Delhi, and they worked perfectly as well. It's really very, very clever. Okay, so something else in Photoshop for the next one, which is dynamic text. So I've got a text block just here, and I'm going to make it dynamic. I'm just pointing out some of the many places you can convert to dynamic text, but I'll click this one. And once I've done that, I can resize the text box like so. Okay, so I'll just hold down the command key there, or that's what I was doing to move that into place. And I just want to change the formatting a little bit. So I'm just going to break some lines in here, okay, to make this appear the way I want it to do. And imagine doing this, okay, manually. This would be, you know, a little job of work to get this done here. There we are. I'll just pop a space in there and just resize that a little bit more. And by the way, just as a disclaimer, you aren't getting a t-shirt, so you know, and that's down at the bottom, okay, there, like so. Okay, there you go. So I went to Adobe Developers Live and got way more than this lousy t-shirt. So there we go. I don't know, maybe they'll get some printed for another time. Let's jump across into Lightroom here. Okay, so this is Lightroom on the desktop, and the first thing we're going to look at here is another form of distraction removal. Okay, and you'll see there's an option here for people, so it's detecting those, and there are the detections. I want to remove one of those to keep that cyclist in, so just select it and delete it, and then just have the removal, and there we go, so quickly. Okay, I think that was speeded up by about 300%, that small segment just there. Okay, it really is very, very quick at doing that. Okay, and then we'll do another one here in Lightroom. Okay, so we've got this traffic light here, and we're going to use generative AI to remove this because there is actually a small bush there just on the right hand side, and I just want to drop it and stop it from looking around for similar material. And there you go, that quickly, that's all gone. So making very, very short work of these things, okay, in getting the image exactly the way you want it. And this is the Whale building in Cologne, in case you're interested and fancy visiting. It's a shopping center over a road. It's cool. Here's another thing that has benefited from some love in Lightroom, and this is the landscape automatic masking feature. So here you have a landscape option, and so it analyzes the image and then it returns you all of these masks. Now, most of the time they are very, very tight, but sometimes you just need to do a little bit of secondary work around them. So you can see there it's detecting the sky, it's detecting the architecture, the vegetation, the artificial ground, and the natural ground. So all those masks will be available. If I checked them just there, then that would create me the necessary masks for me to either refine or just work with straight away. Okay, so next up from there, we're going to move across into my favorite, of course, which is Illustrator. So let's go into Illustrator, and we're going to do some vector generation here. So here's the dialog for generating vectors. And so what I'm doing here is trying to type desert. Now I've typed desert scene, okay, no visible sun. Now, the thing is, when with prompts, I'm not really a promptista here, is that what I should do is use a different way than using that negative in there for it to work. But there I have the options for style reference, for different effects, and the color and tone. I'm going to choose one just here. Okay, this warm tone just there, which is what my girlfriend calls me. Okay, and then it will go ahead and generate that. Now there's one with a sun in it, so I shouldn't have used the negative. The one on the end is the one I'll have to use. And what I'm going to do is just ungroup that, okay, which gets rid of all of the other generations there. And then that gets resized, but it's going to fall short of the document. It's not in Pro with the document. So something else that Illustrator has that's shared by a couple of other apps is the ability to generative extend. Leave that empty for Illustrator to work it out, okay, or really more accurately, okay, for Sensei to work it out, I guess. And there you are. I've got variations to check, and that I think is just fine there. So we've got that expansion ungrouped and just here now, so that can then be regrouped as you want or to change it from there. Okay, next up then, continuing with this particular image, okay, is using the pencil. Now we're going to come back to the pencil shortly, but here I'm just going to draw a shape. Okay, nice and easy like so. Okay, so just drawing that out. Might be difficult to see just at the moment. You should see it now as I'm going into the sky there. I'm making a cactus kind of shape. There we go. So I've got that shape, and you can see that the effect for the path, okay, has applied afterwards. So the actual appearance applied afterwards. We'll talk about that in a moment. And I'm going to use Gen Shape Fill here and put in something like a saguaro cactus or a simple cactus for this and allow it to generate. Now it leaves the original path there, but the path does have a function. It kind of informs, okay, what the generation is going to provide. And you can change that. Let's delete that other path. You can actually change that by changing how strictly it adheres to those shapes. Okay. Now I'm going to recolor this using generative recolor. So using this terracotta desert, I mean, I'm just suggesting that might possibly be a good choice there, and just choosing one of those generations like so. And in just that short amount of time, okay, everything there set, and just ungroup that. Okay, and then I'll use the new ungroup all command, which is great. That will even take care of subgroups in there, and then just regroup it, okay, just to have it as one single group. Now, talking about the pencil, okay, as we were a moment ago, okay, we should have just here another thing with the pencil. So you can see here, this is set to have a black stroke that is 12 points. Okay, so a 12-point wide black stroke across this. And if I draw normally with the pencil, you can see that it just shows you the vector path and then applies the appearance afterwards. Well, that's not always what you want. So hitting return here to access the options, you now have a live preview, and you can even have live curve fitting on there if you want to, which draws with the appearance intact. And you can see the difference just there like so. Now, in case you're wondering about the tracking there across that, that's because I've got smoothing turned on for the line here. You can see that. And by the way, you don't have to click and drag that. You can actually use the arrow keys on your keyboard. So let's draw another one of these, because I think what this illustration actually needs, of course, is a roller coaster. That's what we should have just here. So let's bring in some cars for that. These are just a bunch of dynamic symbols, and then get the object on a path tool, click on the path, and there they are distributed across that path. Now I'm going to change their relationship there using the reference point. and then you can change the spacing between them like so. And if I nudge this across to the side slightly here, okay. Oh, by the way, you can rotate them. So if you want them rotated around at angles, you can do that. Not the best experience for a roller coaster, got to be frank. And just move this along the path like so. Now there are widgets also at the bottom of the cars. They're just being spaced out there. Okay, and with those widgets, okay, you can actually change the order, okay, of them along the path, and the path is still intact. So you can either give that an appearance of none or go ahead and style that as you wanted to. For example, if you wanted to keep that stroke and then additionally add another stroke attribute on top of it and make that into like a dashed line, you could give the appearance there of tracks as well. So that would be a fun thing to do with that. Right then, moving across into InDesign. Okay, so this is a really, really cool feature here, and it's the ability, okay, to open PDFs. So here's the first one of these PDFs. Like so, you can see what the PDF looks like there. Let's bring that in, and then it will use Creative Cloud to turn that. Okay, you'll notice the absence at the moment of the bunny. This is working here in real time. Okay, there it is. We're going to skip all of the font stuff, but here we are. We've now got the document, including the original shapes that were in there. Okay, all of the images that were in there as well. Okay, so got all of that stuff going across to the next page. You'll see more of that. There you go. Even the list, and you can see that the first line indents and everything have been honored there as well. So you've got all of that intact. So if, like me, sometimes you have files that you need and you no longer have the original file or can't find them, but you've got the PDF, you can actually extract them from there. And this one involves tables. Now, what I want you to look at here is the header rows across those. Okay, so we'll bring that in like so. And once it arrives, it'll be pretty quick on there. Again, that's all in real time. And let's change one of the header rows here. You can just see those again. Okay, and just remove the word name from there. And now scroll down and you can see truly they are header rows. They're not disassociated. They're exactly as they would be inside of InDesign. And that's really cool. I did actually need to create or recreate a couple of manuals, and a couple of my Macs and things had the data in that I needed. And I was able to use this feature to do that. So that's really, really good thing, I think, for a lot of people. Let's have a look at something else in InDesign. Okay, here. So this also has a form of generative extend for PNG and JPEG images. If you had a PSD, of course, you could go into PSD or into Photoshop and do that. So here, that's working away. This is sped up slightly here. Okay, and there you go. And you get your 3 variations that you can click through to determine which one you want. Nice and easy. So if you need it, you can go ahead and extend that content. Now the bridge then between, okay, InDesign and Adobe Express. So let's have a look at that. So here we have the InDesign document, and there is a new feature, export to Adobe Express. And you can also from Express open an INDD file as well. So that will open in Express, and from there you can just work on that as you would any other document. You can see the controls on the right hand side for editing text, images, replacement, and so on from there. So that's a really great thing to do, especially if you want to do some reformatting or change things. Okay, and check this. And when I say change things, I mean things like document sizes, or something like the next example I'm going to show you, okay, which is a different variation of this particular file. So if we go into this one, here we've got a flyer, okay, made it nice and easy for you to see, but I'm going to use this translate option. Okay, going to translate all pages because there's only one, and look at how many languages are in this list. Okay, so we'll choose a few there like Welsh, Swedish, Spanish, and so on. We'll get a good handful of those in there. Okay, this is powered, I believe, by Google Translate. but the translations, I actually did an Italian technical document for a friend of mine. Hi, Alex, by the way. Technical document for a friend of mine, okay, not long ago, and it came back with 0 errors. It was fantastic, really, really good. And I honestly mean that, hand on heart, 0 errors. So you can see I've put a whole bunch of languages in there and then translate. Now, again, no bunny, because this is in real time. Okay, so this is exactly as it was recorded. Okay, so it's working away. It's already returned all of the documents. And here they are. You can see they've all been titled as the language that they are translated to. And all of that in that amount of time. Really, I mean, as with anything that's translation, so we can go and view them individually here by clicking through the pages. As with any form of translation, of course, you should always get it checked by a native speaker. But you are 95% of the way there. And you can even determine whether the language is formal or informal, or not to tamper with the language at all. So you've got all of those options just there. So some amazing, amazing stuff. Okay, right then. So you might wonder, here's one more thing, by the way, with generative AI. So this one's just going to be inserting an object here. Okay, and just using one of my photos. Okay, and then just drawing something with the brush, and then giving it a prompt to fill that particular piece of content. And while it's doing that, you might wonder, well, you know, with all of these continual advancements, why would you bother building plugins and extensions and things like that? Because surely Adobe will get round to that at some point. And the answer is they might not, because the breadth of the way these applications are used, especially things like Illustrator and Photoshop, is so vast that they probably don't come across some of these areas which to them are considered probably quite niche. Okay, so they may not. And also you might have specialist knowledge, okay, that they don't have. And also you have one real big advantage, is that you have agility. Okay, and people like my friends at Astute Graphics, okay, they've managed to turn their plugin business, which was originally buying handfuls of plugins, but now a subscription model, to do that, which exceeds many of the things, okay, that Illustrator can't do natively. And if I just pop across to Illustrator just for a second here, just to show you a couple of things. By the way, I'm also using the Overlord plugin here to move things backwards and forwards between Express. Let me just select the bunny here, note where it is. I'm just going to very quickly push that to Express, and there it is suddenly in exactly the right place, okay, inside of After Effects. So let's have a look at some of the things just very quickly here that we can do. So I've got all of these things. There's my cassette tape. This is part of the inside of the cassette tape. Even drawing things like lines from tangencies between objects. Right, this is done very quickly here using the Astute Graphics tools. With no fuss on it, it works perfectly every time. You've also got things like outlining an open path. So here, okay, is their AG offset tool. Let me just click that, and you can see with one click I can get as many extra steps here, by the way, as I want to from here. But it is an open path, okay, that is being extended. All I'd need to do then would be to actually expand the effect, and I could join those things together like so, okay, if I wanted to, or just leave them apart as they were. And another tool I'll just show you here from the many I could show you, I think it's 23 tools. Here is this perpendicular line tool. And if I just come in like so, I'm going to tap A on my keyboard, which fills a segment, A again, which fills the whole thing. Okay, and I'll just make that slightly larger there like so. Okay, and outline those paths. If I just increase the weight of this one, you can see very quickly here how I managed to draw the inner spools for this cassette. So they have so many tools, okay, that can be used. You can see most of them down here, lots and lots of effects and so on. They are an amazing vendor, and I honestly couldn't work at the speed I work at sometimes without their tools. Right, so why would you do those things? Well, that's why, because you're meeting the needs of some of the customers that fall in between the gaps, that big corporations move very slowly and they take advice and they have focus groups, not really their thing to get into these deep in the weeds with these things. So you've got plenty of opportunity there. And subscription-based businesses, Overlord is exactly the same now. It's an annual subscription, but has that thing. I'll just close you out on two things here. Okay, so I'll go back to my presentation just here. I have to do that in a roundabout way. There we go. When it wants to come back up on screen, there we are. I just want to show you a couple of attempts I've used at using AI myself to generate stuff. Now, I started out with a thing I wanted to do for After Effects with ChatGPT. I asked it if it could help me. And it said, absolutely, what am I looking to make? And what specifics did it? And so I gave it some information. And I told, like so, okay. Then after a period where it started giving me huge amounts of information, despite me saying, let's take this one step at a time. Now I'm terrible at writing JavaScript, but I can read it really, really well. I know how it works. And so I started saying, no, that's not working. And then it was giving me duff information. Now here you can see animator 1 is not a child of animators here. And then I was getting frustrated with it. This was over many, many hours. Sorry, that's too many steps for keep up with. One step at a time, please, which you need to keep reminding it. Where do I add the debugging code? And then it started saying about using extend script toolkit, okay, which is deprecated. All right. And then you can see here, I was getting angrier and angrier. Oh, this is infuriating. The layer exists. It's named correctly. There's something else wrong. And then it was saying it wasn't a text layer. I said, it is a text layer. And you can see, if you look at my spelling there, you can see that I was obviously becoming very frustrated. And then I said, we're going around in circles, because we were, okay, it kept going back to a particular breakpoint. Okay, and it was calling for a function it didn't exist. And so I said, I'm getting the same error, I give up. And then I handed it over to Claude and fixed it in 2 iterations. And just to finish on a good note, okay, I did give ChatGPT another chance, okay, with my Daily Lightroom Edits project. You can follow that on Instagram if you want to, at Daily Lightroom Edits. I wanted to extract some XML data so that I could animate sliders in After Effects. Okay, and it said absolutely and gave me a whole bunch of information I didn't really need, but it gave me it anyway. And then that worked perfectly well. It helped me with renaming it to make it easy to identify. And then that's it. And we then started on the Lightroom plugin using the Lua language, which calls Python. So I was doing it mainly in Python, and then having this called, and Lua can call Python scripts. And that is pretty much it. I think I'm over time by about 4 or 5 minutes. I apologize, but there we go.
Thank you, Tony. This was really interesting. And so not only did we get great insights for multiple Creative Cloud products, you also showed why add-ons still are relevant and important. But on the same time, you developed your own add-on, and even for Lightroom, which is not one of the most popular languages compared to the other apps.
Yeah.
And you also said, or you also showed us the export to Express. And when we met earlier to prepare for this talk, you also said you are the design ninja focusing on Creative Cloud, but you still use Adobe Express on your day-to-day work, right? So
I use Express every day. Every day.
Like feature translation and stuff that just Creative Cloud can't do.
Yeah, okay. And the scheduler. The scheduler is the thing that without fail I use every day.
To publish, yeah. We have Ender Lambert later today. He's the co-founder of Content Call, which now is Scheduler in Express. So he would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to hopefully see you at Adobe Max soon. And before we go to the next...
Developers Live.